Settle back now, content, comfortable, well-fed, and ready for some fine entertainment. Is everybody happy? Then let's go. It's showtime.
Welcome to the Cuse Militia Podcast with those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
Most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
What's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, please share it. The universal handle for the socials is at Cuse Militia. Go there, join the militia. We are the only Syracuse sports podcast centered around giving you, the fans, a voice. So welcome. Happy Thursday. We're back almost 3 weeks later, but we're back. Took a little break. Took a break. And then, why are you looking at me like that? You know I can see you, right?
It's just been such a long time. It feels weird, man.
I know, it's been a long time. I forgot how to work the mixer, so I had to refamiliarate myself with it. But we're back. It's been almost 3 weeks. You know, used to be we only did a show a month during the off season anyway. I don't know when this once a week stuff started.
Or every other week, you know.
I don't know.
I mean, we pushed it this far before, so
we have. Anyway,
yeah.
I enjoyed.
Needed vacation.
Yeah, I took a little vacation, left town for a little bit, did a little amusement park activities and such, museums and whatnot, fireworks. Went to Pennsylvania, so had some fun. It's pretty cool. We have today just some news. In fact, you know, if we were gonna take 3 weeks off, this was probably the best 3 weeks of the year so far, because there was absolutely the news was dead for two of it.
Yeah.
So
it just started picking up a little bit, but
it started picking up a little bit, and we're going to get into.
Sports are starting to open back up. NBA starts back up tonight.
Baseball
made a return.
This is true. Baseball made a return, and there's some NBA's coming back. What else is coming back? That would be it.
Hockey.
That's the other one. But the other thing is, we did have one recruit, and we also have some moves. Some former Syracuse players making some moves in and out of the NFL, and we had another one leave us. So we'll talk about all of that stuff, and then, of course, everybody has seen hopefully the 2020 schedule with the 10 conference games and the one non-conference rival game, they're calling it.
No, we can get into that, but
we'll get into all that. Maybe we'll give our predictions. The schedule, to me, looks rough.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Looks so freaking brutal. So, all right, we will do all that. But first, as you well know, this show is sponsored by BetOnline. In fact, the distributor of the show, Armchair All-Americans, is also sponsored by BetOnline. So, as we were just talking about, you got NBA starting up. We got baseball is in full swing now, huh? You like that? Full swing?
Yeah,
there's no shortage of ways to get in on the action. BetOnline has all the odds, futures, and props for you to bet on. Also, tune in as Floyd Money Mayweather joins BetOnline team in a new segment called The Ice is Right, where he talks about his expensive jewelry collection. Sounds interesting. If that's your thing, go check it out. He'll give you a chance to win some great prizes and bet on the cost of his bling. So visit betonline.ag today. You've got the NASCAR. You've got the baseball. You've got NBA tonight. We've hopefully got some NCAA coming up. Football, that is, and maybe a month and a half or so. So check it out. All the odds are updated every day there. Don't forget to sign up. Take advantage of all of the props and all the other stuff out there. Welcome back, sports. Welcome back, BetOnline, your online wagering experts. All right, so
yes,
Joe, this one we left up to Surrey, but we're not sure. Kalan Ellis has committed to the Syracuse Orange football team. Guard, offensive lineman, 6'5", 350 pounds. This is a big boy right there, and also, which is cool, it's the second commit from Hawaii, and it's the first two of this class, and the first two from Hawaii ever, is what I read.
Right.
which is crazy. Maybe a little Ohana, maybe some Babers dipping into the island there and pulling some stuff out. It sounds. I mean, hey, I like it. I like it.
You never know. You never know if he's got ties from the old days since he's been there, and you don't really know whether or not. I mean, sometimes you get a guy that's from the certain area, and it makes it a little bit easier. So maybe the commit of Austin earlier in the cycle made it easier for him to commit. But I mean, he's ranked as the 63rd offensive guard in the country, and he had some pretty impressive scholarships as far as the list goes. I mean, we were there with UCLA, Virginia, San Diego State, and Hawaii. Decent schools, and like you said, 6'5", 350. I'm sure he's definitely going to have to turn some of that into muscle, lose a little bit of weight, get into shape. That is a big boy, but I know he's just like any other lineman, 3-star guy. He's going to come in. He's probably going to redshirt, even though he does have the size. He's going to redshirt, and he's going to get his body in shape. And that's just the one thing that I just do like, especially with Babers in this group, is it just seems to me like they're loading up on some of these big guys where it takes maybe a year or two to get their body right. But I start to see some of these guys coming up, and it's exciting, especially at the end of last year when you saw how effective we ran the ball. So just adding to the group, right?
We've got a move. Might as well just do this one first. I'm doing these out of order, but you bring up the run game when we got a receiver in Cam Jordan, who is probably likely to step up this year. But he's no longer a member of the Syracuse football team, as the Syracuse Orange football team released an updated roster on this past Monday, and he wasn't on it. So he's a 4-year junior. He played in 24 games over the last 2 seasons, according to Syracuse.com. And he was expected to at least compete early. Coming up this year, seeing that we lost some spots there, but some players there, but he's going to be gone. Talk about the run game, though. I mean, kind of leaning on that, bulking that offensive line up and getting it ready. I mean, you still got Nykeem Johnson and Taj Harris ready to fill those roles. And Nykeem, I mean, he had his issues last year. I mean, easy stuff to fix, in my opinion, but
well, you do have obviously a situation where we've always had the next man up, right, at Syracuse, and it really would have been nice to have Tristan this year. Cam, big body, he's been good for us on the special teams end, and yes, he was first in line to be able to take over that spot that Tristan had as outside receiver. Who knows what he would have done with it, but I do know that he was a very highly skilled special teams player, so he's gonna hurt one way or another by him leaving. Just another gap where someone's going to have to step up, and we have recruited, I think, wide receiver pretty well. It's just we don't have a lot of experience. So someone's going to step up and fill the void. But, again, I think a lot of filling the void is going to be running the ball. And I think last year we saw a little bit of uptick of usage with passing to tight ends, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a little bit more of that too.
What about we got 2 decent tight ends too.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, we got 2 decent tight ends coming out the gate. They both can catch, got big bodies. They're more proven than a lot of the receivers that are on our roster. So you hope the Courtney Jacksons, Ed Hendricks, he was a big time.
Hendricks,
right?
Aaron Hackett.
Yeah, Aaron Hackett, and Luke Benson are the 2 tight ends. But Ed Hendricks, he was a highly rated receiver he's gotten hurt with his knee.
2 years he's been injured. Yeah. He's been injured for 2 years.
So, I mean, we have talent there. It's just inexperience and some injury questions and just who's going to step up. I think Nykeem wasn't 100% last year, and I think he'll have a better year. I think Taj Harris will have a better year. He'll have definitely be more on page with DeVito than he was last year. I think you could tell the difference between Tristan and him last year. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right?
There was a lot of frustration there with that. I think we talked about that a couple times last year. So
yeah, I mean, it was visible in the games, but now that Tristan's not there, because we talked about that, Tristan being able to sit out that year before in his transfer, and he was probably playing catch with Tommy a little bit more than he was Dungy, right? and Taj Harris was out there playing. So I think he was a little bit behind the 8 ball with getting in with Tommy, and this offseason, hopefully they've been working on that, because Taj Harris is fully capable. He has the confidence, and we need a leader in that group right now.
Yeah, so, well, let's continue with the football trend here. Just a couple more that are former SU players. Evan Adams, he was released by the Baltimore Ravens. These were, I think I kind of saw these coming, and I kind of saw the Sean Riley getting released from the Patriots, but I do think that was a decent, I thought that had a shot. I felt like that was a good fit. The problem is he really never... They didn't get to do any type of spring stuff. They haven't been, the new guys are kind of starting, to say the least, they haven't gotten a fair shot, unfortunately.
Right.
So,
you're talking at this point of the time of the game. Usually, we're watching Hard Knocks, and the preseason's coming up, and teams actually have the practices and the scrimmages and the games. This just is not a normal offseason, obviously. And, if you're coming from an undrafted free agent type situation, this year it's just really not a good year for you. And that's unfortunate, because we had a lot of them this year, right? But I can see a situation where teams are going to go with more proven veterans because of the uncertainty of how much time you're actually going to have to prepare. And that's unfortunate for these kind of diamond in the rough undrafted free agent guys who haven't really had a fair shot.
I feel like,
as far as a normal offseason.
Yeah, I feel like obviously the lack of opportunity to impress coaches was, obviously worked against guys like Sean Riley.
And I'm not just talking about these two. I'm talking about everybody.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm talking about him as a group, too. I mean, there's a ton of them out there that got cut that never got a fair shot. And to even get a shot on a practice squad and stuff like that right now is, even that's going to be tough. But you got a guy like Sean Riley who probably could have fit on a practice practice squad or even special teams like he had been.
Right. Well,
slot guy or whatever. You don't know. It was kind of a long shot, but I felt like it was the
right. Well, I think those two were more the bigger long shots, right?
Yes.
We had Tristan Jackson. He went undrafted, correct?
Yes.
And Kendall Coleman went undrafted. Those were guys that we thought, were good locks to have a really good chance to get on a team as an undrafted free agent. And you just wonder what this offseason is going to do for guys like that.
Yeah. Tyus Battle signed with a pro team in Russia, so that's where he's going to play. So it's good news for him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Sterling Hoffrichter signed by the Falcons. I don't think that's any surprise.
He got drafted. He's getting signed.
Yeah, got drafted.
Although they are saying that he's going to be in competition with the old punter, but we'll see.
That's fine. Whatever. Also, Elijah Hughes, he was voted into the NBA Combine, which says a lot.
Got an invitation?
Yeah, he got an invitation. So it says a lot because, from what I was reading, and I never really paid attention to the numbers, but about 60, 70 players usually get the invite. So that's pretty good. And the Combine, obviously... Huh?
I always thought he was a lock to get that invite.
Yeah, I think he's good enough. The Combine usually is come and gone by now. It's usually held in May, but it obviously was postponed and has not yet been rescheduled. So, I don't know. So maybe something to look forward to. I don't know. Something to talk about later. So, anyway, one more thing, and then we'll try to get Tyler on here. I saw something today. We're going to have Tyler on to talk Notre Dame, by the way. Weaseling their way into the ACC, which is just typical. But... Anyway, I saw something today that John Wildhack and Syracuse were seeking a exemption from the travel rules. Okay, outside of the state, because as you well know, Cuomo has banned nearly every state in the union. Put them on the quarantine list. I think there's 34 of them now. So, if the rule goes is if you leave the state for more than 24 hours, when you come back, you got to quarantine for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So that would mean if they don't get exempt, they would have to travel day of, play, and leave day of. They'd have to be out of there in a day. So they're trying to seek, a reprieve from that. Obviously, it seems a little unrealistic, but I would be interested to know the criteria on which they do get granted that, if they do, because, we understand that they're athletes and everything, but they're traveling with medical people. Like, I understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're getting tested more. They're having their temperatures taken more. So I'm hoping that all of those things can be factors in getting a reprieve from this, but we'll see. And that goes for every New York team, not just Syracuse. So, anyway, I thought that was interesting. So, because it's not something we thought of. And there's probably going to be a lot of these little things that come up, that pop up, and they're like, oh, well, we didn't think about that way. We got to get around this loophole. They're trying to figure all that out right now, while we're just like, oh, we're gonna have football,
Right.
So, I don't even know if
you got a month to figure it out.
You got about a month and a half to figure it out, right? When's the first game? September 14th or 15th, right? Wasn't that it? Games in the ACC, 7th through 12th. So games in the ACC start the week of the 7th through the 12th. So, you got about a month.
A month and a week.
About 5 weeks to figure it out. So, anyway, hopefully they do. Look,
just cross our fingers.
Yeah, because I'm not totally sold on that either. And, we'll see what happens. Just as long as everybody is taking care of themselves and not being stupid, which is AKA living your life like normal. You gotta just chill. Okay, let's try to see if we can do this. And there's still people out there that don't think we should have a football season at all. So, and they're entitled to that opinion as well. So I disagree, but that's okay. All right, before we bring Tyler on, one more time, let's hear it from the folks over at Bet Online. The sports, as we mentioned, they keep coming back. All the sports. They seem to be pretty strong right now, except for the Marlins baseball team, of course. And so your chance to bet on a team with our exclusive wagering partner, BetOnline, is premiered itself. And like we talked about, baseball, got basketball coming. We're weeks away from college football. NASCAR, obviously. They didn't have the TBT. In fact, I didn't find the TBT anywhere on these types of sites. But anyway, they got everything else there. When we talked about it, Floyd Mayweather, he's joining the BetOnline team. You can even bet on prices of his jewelry, and maybe you can win some of it or something. That's what this says. So visit betonline.ag today. Check out all the odds and updates on the sports news. Don't forget to sign up and take advantage of all the welcome back sports bonuses. BetOnline, your online wagering experts. And look, Joe, what is the number one sign of a bad home security system, Joe? What is it? Am I on mute? You muted me.
Why am I supposed to know that?
Why are you supposed to know that? Because this is a question I'm proposing to you.
I have no
idea.
Because
that's what this sheet says. A home security system that's so complicated you can never use it, Joe, of course. Obvious answer. This is exactly the type of security system Simply Safe has spent a decade fighting against. They believe that simple is safer. You get it? Simply Safe. Okay. And that is exactly why Simply Safe is the home security for right now, when feeling safe at home has never been more important. Simply Safe was designed to be easy to use while protecting your whole home 24/7. Bet online with the click of a button. Open the box, place the sensors, plug it in, and boom. You're good to go. And your home is protected around the clock. No technician or salesperson has to come and disrupt your house. You don't need to pay any outrageous monthly fees or sign a 2-year contract. Simply Safe was named the best overall security system of 2020 by U.S. News and World Report, and their 24/7 professional monitoring and emergency dispatch starts at 50 cents a day. You can turn this thing on and off as you please as well. You do not have to sign up for you sign up for a month. You're going on vacation. I went on vacation this month. I could have signed up for this month. I can shut it off next month. It's easy as that. So head over to simplysafe.com/team and get free shipping and 60-day money-back guarantee. That's simplysafe.com/team, and make sure they know you heard it from us over here at Cuse Militia and Armchair Media. All right, great. Okay, let's bring on Tyler. All right, joining us now, our good buddy, Tyler Morona. former host of the Trademark Podcast and current California resident, Tyler Morona, at Tyler Morona on Twitter. What's up, bro? Joe's drinking another beer.
I like the ceremonial popping a cold one with the boys. That's awesome. I'm doing really good, man. Moved back out to California 3 weeks ago, and I moved originally because I kind of had a drop dead point on when I was going to be moving out here to potentially be ready for coaching and then starting a career in education. So went back to grad school to go get a couple of my teaching credential and a master's in education so I can hopefully one day be a head coach of a high school football program. So out here at the beach and loving life, besides the fact that,
the beach isn't open.
I can't do it. So, but it feels good to be back. I'm living with family. I get to see my parents every weekend. And my entire family lives out here. So even to the very last, estranged aunt and uncle. So for me, it was definitely weird to go out there, but I mean, it's awesome to be back.
Awesome. Happy for you. It must be beautiful looking outside that window.
Oh my God, man. I can't even begin to tell you. I don't talk about it that much because my fiance is still living in Houston. She's riding out the lease out there, and we're going to be apart until New Year's, man.
What?
So it's I'm all out in the line here. I'm risking life and limb and relationship. So we're getting married on October the 3rd here in California, and then she's going back to Houston.
Holy cow!
It's this is how much I love football. I mean, I would never say I love it more than I love my future wife, but I mean, we're definitely testing how much we love it together. So, and it's,
kidding.
That level's pretty high.
No kidding. How much does Notre Dame fans love the fact that they have been independent and not in a conference for their football team for the past 132 years up until, I don't know, yesterday?
I mean, number one, you it froze for a second, so I'm guessing we're talking about Notre Dame.
Oh, it froze. Okay, yes. I was just saying, in 132 years of Notre Dame playing football, they've never been lumped into a conference. Their fans pride themselves on this independent league, whatever, right? Well, now they're in the ACC. First of all, for them, that's funny to me. Okay, my brother-in-law, good friend of mine, huge Notre Dame fan.
Okay.
I think it's hilarious. He's part of the reason I really can't stand Notre Dame, but I was never a fan before. But the whole dabbling into the ACC and still being independent thing was always annoying. So I mean,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, well, first let's talk about Notre Dame playing a full slate of ACC games for 2020. Let's start there. There's a couple things to talk about for the year, the schedule, the speculation on the one non-conference game, and then we're going to just quickly give our predictions on the conference games. Okay, because we've got 10 conference games we're going to play. Okay. We know the home, that we know the way, and we'll kind of just spitball that. Okay, so go ahead.
Good deal.
Okay.
I guess fair. I'll start out with this. This is the question with the question: fair or foul that we have to accept Notre Dame because they've always been an ACC team, and they play us in everything else. I mean everything else, and then separately from that, they're not even in Atlantic Coast. They're in Indiana. That's not an Atlantic Coast state.
True that.
So,
facts.
Should we have to accept them? They're a Big Ten team through and through. I mean, they're terrible. Colin Cowherd always calls them thick in the ankles. They grow their grass out real long so that when USC comes to play, they're not used to Midwest football, and they still kill them every year. I mean, they're a fraud program. They go to the playoffs all the time, and they get shellacked by 1,000 by Clemson. And then that's now who they're going to play in the ACC title game. We've seen that game 1,000 times. I don't need to see it anymore. I know who's the better team before they even get off the bus. So that's how I feel.
No, it's better to see that game before the playoffs.
Exactly.
So, in one way, again, it's funny because Notre Dame they throw their name around, they throw their weight around, right? They have that huge TV deal, independent, get that money. Yeah. But in other sports, they've proven that the conferences and other teams they kind of need them as well because that is a big name and it does bring popularity and competitiveness in other sports from that team. So you never really know when you look at it. The question is really who needs who more, right? And
that's an easy
when you're
answer.
not a Notre Dame fan, then you're like, oh, make them join a conference, make them join. But then when it's the other way around, they're like, no, this is like history. We don't need to do this, right? Like, but I think this year is going to be one of those things where if they're a fraud program and if they're going to have to play a legit schedule.
Right.
It's not going to be none of these traditional. We're playing Army, Navy, all these other teams, right? It would have been funny to see them actually have to sit out the year because they couldn't play any conferences and actually just do home and away with all the independent teams like New Mexico State and Liberty and BYU and all those guys. Yep. Yeah. That would have been great because they never, even if they went undefeated, they wouldn't even make the playoffs. But it's going to be funny because we're really going to see the true colors of them playing in a conference. And I think that's actually going to carry some weight on that player and on the players and the teams because really they've never been in that position to be in a conference. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be a little bit different for them. So we shall see. But I wasn't very happy about it because I knew that we were going to have to play them.
Right.
I knew it, right?
It's so weird that I feel like it's like whenever they can play us, they have to play us. I don't know what that is. It feels like it's always like once Notre Dame has that little ACC crossover, it always is against us. Like it's never against, they always try to build in that win for them. And I feel like that's just like the stupidest part of it. And then like everybody's like, oh man, the Yankees uniform in Yankee Stadium, that was an all-time bad visual. I don't know how they got away with that. I mean, and let me say this. All respect in the world to Clark Lee. He's now the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, and he was our linebackers coach at Syracuse at the time. A really good coach. I love him. But other than that, I really don't want anything to do with Notre Dame.
Yeah, well, the question was raised. I mean, fair or foul, right? I mean, well, right. the reason that ACC's even allowing this, well, first of all, I guess they feel obligated to some extent, but they're splitting all this TV revenue evenly amongst all these teams, and it's one division. Right. There's one division this year. Okay, I want 15 teams, one division, two best teams, whatever title game. Okay, they're simplifying it up a little bit, right? So. They're
not even guaranteed to get there.
They're not guaranteed to get there, but I mean,
they're not getting it. That's the answer.
I'd actually put money on it that they don't.
There's no way. It's going to be UNC most likely, or whoever. It's Miami because with De'Aaron King, like Catholics versus convicts is back. I'm really excited about that. Not to disparage anybody one side or the other. Who's who? Who's really the convict in this situation when you think about it? Because Notre Dame, that fraud team, they're stealing our eyeballs away from a good game when they're number 4 in the playoff. That should be a convicted felon move, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, would they get shellacked 52-7?
Yeah.
It was awful. I mean, they deserve a 100-year ban from the playoff for that.
It wasn't just that year, though. That wasn't just that year against Clemson. They went to the championship game against Alabama.
And they lost by 50 as well. It's like we know how the story ends, and it's like it's always. And with Notre Dame, it's always like this year's different. I think if you put like Memphis in our conference, I would be like super excited about that. Or UCF. It's like let's take a team that actually wants to be up there. And give him a shot. Yeah.
No, I'm completely right there with you. And it's funny because the naysayers are going to say all the other, fans from the other teams are going to be like, well, force them to join the conference forever and this and that, right? But realistically, when you sit back and look at it, it's going to be nice to sit back and see if they do play them struggle through an actual conference schedule.
It'll be refreshing for sure.
So, I mean, there's a one way to look at it and be like, let them hang them out to dry, right? But then there's other things.
That's me, by the way. That's me.
That's you. But then there's other people that are like, hey, let's let them in and let's actually show them what's up because you can't. There's going to be a chip on every team's shoulder when they go and play them. Oh, Notre Dame wants in the ACC. They're going to going to the conference title. Nope.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's like it's like the defending champion theory. Like everybody gets up for that one game to play Clemson, or they get up for Florida State, and then they quickly fall apart if the coach isn't there anymore because he took another job. And like Jimbo Fisher, like when he left Florida State, everybody took their best shot at him, and then they go 6-6, and then it deteriorated for a little bit. Or like a Louisville, all these types of programs. And I mean, I would put Notre Dame maybe 4th to 6th in the conference right now. So it's like we're not adding the champion. And I think that's what's the funniest part about it is like the Notre Dame fans are like, oh, dude, now we just get to stack ACC titles in our pocket. Like, no, you're not.
I think it's most likely to end up like the end of like a Scooby-Doo episode where they pull the mask off. Hey, this is who it really is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you went 7-4. Hey.
So funny, Joe.
No, I'm really excited for that too, because we'll know right away.
Yep.
That's how it's going to be. And then on the flip side too is that if Syracuse ever does like get to the top of the conference and then Notre Dame was in there as well, then it's kind of like, well, it strengthens the conference from top to bottom and gives us like that team, like a Texas A&M that is in the SEC, that's like they're always good, but they're never great. It gives us that team too, where it's like, if you can have that swing game, which I think Virginia Tech is on the other side of the bracket for a lot of teams. Like if you can beat them, then you're that upper tier team. So I guess it's good for that side. But like I said, they've been in the conference for how many years now, playing basketball and baseball and lacrosse. So it's like, what's even really that new?
I know.
No, and they did the same thing from the Big East to football.
Yeah.
Or to ACC. I'm sorry, not to football, but Big East to ACC. They did the same thing, right? They were in the Big East.
Yeah.
Yeah, basketball.
Well, and all the other sports.
Yeah.
Just like
right. It's like the sacred football team just is standalone. Shall not be.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like we just can't get away from them, right? Because we had that home and away, and then because Marone, I think Marone scheduled, or maybe not him, but it was during when Marone was there, and then Notre Dame was forced to play 4 teams a year, and of course the first year that they were to do that, we had to play them, right? So it's like we just can't get away from them. I mean, we just played them 2 years ago when Dungy was here. So
exactly.
So we've got a 11 game schedule. We got 5 in-conference games, 5 home, 5 away, and 1 non-conference rival game, which is likely, I guess, to be maybe Liberty, because they're playing still. We lost Colgate, we lost Rutgers, because the whole Rutgers team's like tested positive. They're like the Marlins of New Jersey.
Did you hear the reason why that they tested positive?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I heard a reason.
So they all went to a party on campus, and they all got the virus, or the guys that were infected, and then I texted Michael Lasker, who was my roommate, and I texted him. I was sick for like 15 straight months on campus. Like it would have been a no-brainer that if I was still on campus, I'd have coronavirus right now. Like it's a shoo-in. Like you'd go to these basement parties in Cuse, and it's like you're like this with the next person. Like, you're nose to nose.
Yeah.
And like it's just So to me, I was like, this is not shocking at all. Like this is like the easiest thing I could have ever predicted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, though, if sports don't happen and there's kids on campus, that's going to happen anyway. In fact, they're probably more likely if sports don't happen for them to be partying and getting infected. At least they're probably being a little bit safe if they have to be a little bit responsible playing sports. I mean, that's just kind of how I see it.
That's giving players a lot of credit, and also like I knew I wasn't probably supposed to go out on Tuesday nights on the off season, but that wouldn't stop us every now and then from doing that as well.
Well, sure, right, but right, yeah, but it didn't. You couldn't cost your whole team a season of football at that time.
So you hope that guys are being a little bit responsible.
Yeah. So home games: Boston College, Duke, Georgia Tech, NC State, and Wake Forest. Away games, this is just bend over.
Stupid.
Bend over. Clemson, Louisville, North Carolina, Notre Dame, and Pittsburgh. Okay?
That's like classic ACC. That is just classic. Let's bone Syracuse as hard as we possibly can.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
when you look
Expect tomorrow the NCAA saying that Chris Bleich isn't getting his
transfer,
isn't going to get his transfer
waivers
to sit out a year.
Yeah,
That's just going to be the cherry on top, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, would that
Ridiculous,
not surprise
dude.
you though?
Dude, it's like they looked at it and said, "What are the 5 easiest games that Syracuse could win on the road? Let's make them home, and then let's go and put the 5 hardest games on the road and
in
it's
the
just,
conference." Yeah.
Right, and I mean, don't get me wrong. We're in a situation where a month ago we didn't even know if there was going to be football. I pray that there is, right? So it's hard to complain about this, but
we're going to anyway.
A very manageable schedule, like a schedule that I thought was going to put us in a situation where we could surprise some people into
Camping World Bowl again, something like that.
Right, into basically us having to win all of our home games in our 9-conference game to make a bowl game.
Are they doing bowl games this year, or are we just kind of like, giving us a bowl if we go 6-5?
Oh God, I don't even know.
That's a good question on the bowl games, but there's a championship game, obviously. It is already scheduled, so and they're going to do 2 best teams based on win percentage, which is the best way to do it. So, I mean, there was talk about Notre Dame not being eligible for the Orange Bowl. I thought I read that somewhere. So they're still.
Well, they're not going, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's like
Notre Dame's getting 3 losses. At least.
Easy.
Oh, has their schedule out? Is every ACC team schedule out?
Yeah, they put out the full graphic.
Do we know Notre Dame's?
It's yeah. Hold on, let me get
Here,
it.
I'll look at it right now.
Well,
I just saw ours. Like when I
what's up once actually.
See, when they showed it at first, I was like, "Oh, that's not our schedule. It's just the way that they're going to do it." I'm just waiting for the schedule, and then it actually was a schedule, and I was like, "Of course it is. Of course it is."
Why can't I find 2020?
We don't play Florida State though, do we?
Well, we don't normally play them anyway.
Right.
Wouldn't we this year?
In our Florida State's usually.
Oh yeah. I know that they're in our bracket, but
no, it's nice to see that we don't play Miami or Florida State, but
I thought
that helps. I thought we'd
be playing
Okay.
Virginia Tech this year.
Hold on. Okay, Notre Dame. I got it. It's in like one big graphic.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame home for Clemson, Duke, Florida State, Louisville, and us. Away games: Boston College, Georgia Tech, UNC, Pitt, and Wake Forest.
Oh, that's
they get the 3 hardest games at home, and they have North Carolina on the road. So
North Carolina is going to be tough.
I mean, I don't even know if there's a road win that I could. Maybe Pittsburgh. Maybe.
I think if we're healthy at the end of the year, I think we should be okay with that.
With Pitt.
Yeah,
I think. We're not going to.
We don't
We
know
always
this.
play close.
We don't know the order of the schedule either, right? So
That's true. We don't. Yeah, it's down at the bottom, but I guess we don't really
Boston
know.
College. I hate.
I mean, I would rather hit that gauntlet of the road games just early.
Same. Just 0-5.
I mean, maybe not all of them in a row, but just it's one of those things where we're a little bit behind the 8 ball with schemes changing in the defense and with a new offensive coordinator. So I'd hate to lose a home game to some team we think we can beat just because we're just not gelling at that time. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
What do you guys have them at conference record?
Well, let me take a peek again real quick. It's this is quite the slate.
It's
crazy to me because again, I'm right there with you. I see 4 away losses, 5 games that we can win at home if we're like on our game, and then Pittsburgh, which is a toss-up.
See, I got Boston College, Duke, Georgia Tech, NC State. I'm always
50,
worried about.
50.
I'm always worried about them. Wake Forest, I'm a little worried about them, but I mean, I could see that being a win. So I would give.
Oh my God,
I would give 4 wins at home, giving up 1 to NC State. Lost to Clemson, lost to Louisville. North Carolina's going to be tough. Notre Dame's obviously going to be tough. Maybe Pittsburgh. Maybe you get the one win at Pittsburgh and you end up 5-5.
Pittsburgh's always tough too, right?
I know they're tough, and we're playing them at
home
Pitt.
games. I mean, North Carolina State, they still have issues with quarterbacks. Wake Forest, I know they're going to have Sam Hartman.
The QB1 guy.
Yeah.
Transfer,
but I know they're getting
left.
Yeah, he left, and I know they got Sage Surratt coming back, the receiver who's pretty good. But I think that's a team that we could. I mean, that's a 50-50 toss-up too. In Boston College, I know that they have problems at quarterback too, but they also have the best offensive line and a running back who's a beast, who's just going to replace Dillon. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's typically how they go. I mean, they always have some sort of beefy guy back there because they had Andre Williams before him. So.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to keep going?
The home games aren't going to be tough, man.
No, I mean, I got him going 4-1 at home. That's not bad.
That's not bad. But we also are probably going to go 1-4 on the road.
But our non-conference game will be at home, by the way. It has to be played in New York, from what I read.
Oh, that helps. Well, it was supposed to be at our place anyway, right?
If it's Liberty, yeah.
Ah, well.
Why were we on the road last year with Liberty?
Yeah.
Yeah, we opened at Liberty.
Yeah, remember Hugh Freeze in the window?
Oh yeah. In the hospital.
Yeah. How could I forgot? Well, I know it's going to be Liberty, or they're talking about postponing those games and maybe making it like a Buffalo or an Army, something like that. An in-state school, so that you don't have to worry about the travel.
I thought Buffalo was was one that was definitely not going to happen though, because I thought that was talked about. Either way, we'll find out. We're just spitballing on that. But so what do you see? I gave mine. What's y'all's? I say 5-5. I think they can pull off 5-5. I hope for 5-5. I feel like that I'd be happy with that. And then we get our non-conference win, and we go 6-5.
It's a positive record. Yeah, I mean, Syracuse though, famous for the one upset special and then the one most heartbreaking loss of all time. So
I know
maybe the 5-5 won't actually be the order in which we think about it. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, this offensive line, if they can really gel and mature, and I heard they're looking good physically. So I mean, if that was really the biggest detriment from last year, you like to believe in the fact that everybody's a year older, a year more experienced, a year more in the weight room. I mean, whether that's fact or fiction at this point, I can't tell you. But I just don't think that running the ball is going to be as big of a problem as last year. And then if we can keep Tommy upright, we've seen that he has gone in and played good games against good teams. So it's just, man alive, I don't know. This is just brutal. And I think as much as I'm going to love this schedule, if it plays all the way out, it actually affects us the most. Because like you said earlier, Joe, this was one of the more favorable schedules we've had in however many years. Yeah. And we were going to open up probably 5-1 to maybe 6-1 in the first 7 weeks. And it's all of a sudden now, maybe that is a carryover into what we saw with Dungy's last year, So I don't know. And I don't know.
I'm right there with you because from what I saw at the end of the year, and I was at the Duke game watching that offensive line and the way that we ran the ball. I know we don't have Mo Neal, but I think that we've recruited pretty well at the running back position, and it's just a next man up situation. There's no reason to believe that offensive line isn't going to be better. From what I saw, as soon as Alexander left and they changed it, you saw an immediate difference. I mean, it was crazy to me, and I'm like, is this right? So you bring that into the fact that I think looking at the way that the season ended as well, looking at leaders like Cisco, Trill Williams, even DeVito, I don't think he had the season that he wanted. Obviously, being a first-year starter, I think he's going to learn. He's going to take a progression, and he's going to be better at figuring out when to slide and when to run, when to throw the ball away, that kind of stuff. And I think that we're going to be better at keeping him upright because we're going to be able to run the ball more and with a better offensive line. So obviously receivers, we have to figure it out. But just the way that they ended at the end of the year, not going to a bowl game, the way that Trill, ended that game in overtime against Wake Forest, they didn't want it to end there, and you could tell, but they were excited the way that it ended. And so sometimes those are just little things that can push you into working a lot harder in the offseason to try to prove people wrong the next year. And I think that's really where we're at. And that's why I was excited about the schedule we had before.
Certainly.
Yeah.
But even now, I don't think it's gonna sway the attitude of this team. I really don't.
Well, and we talked plenty too about just starting behind the 8 ball with all this, and I know Tyler believes everybody's starting behind the 8 ball, right? And that but I think there's teams that are just that they have a longer leash with that being able to start behind the 8 ball. And,
no doubt about it.
And we definitely don't, in my opinion. I think we needed everything we could get. As far as spring games and stuff like that, and camp and everything like that, we could have utilized every minute of that, and unfortunately, we just didn't get it. So I'm still really skeptical, man, about just having a good season. But to Joe's point, with the schedule, yeah, absolutely. I remember being excited about it. I don't even remember what it was anymore. It feels like 3 years ago that I saw that schedule, and it's gone anyway. So. It's just, you know what, though, guys? I mean, as long as we got college football, as long as this does happen, I mean, like we said earlier, like Tyler said, can we really complain about it? I think not. So, let's just hope it plays through.
Man, I hope so.
Well, I guess to answer, and I speak from a little experience now on the coaching front, just the shred of experience. High school is tough because we've been having to do a lot of our installations, and we've had football pushback in California to start camp on December 14th. So, thoughts and prayers to
crazy.
The fall. Yeah. And my sanity. But, it is what it is, and then we'll kick off in January. But from what I hear, a lot of college coaches have really enjoyed this time because they're getting more individual work in with their guys more than ever. Because all of spring ball was just, hey, we are just going to work on what do you need to do as an individual, and we don't really get that much time to do that at the D1 level. It's all about hey, are you fitting into the scheme? Are you learning the scheme? Let's not we did a little bit in fall camp as far as technique, and the difference between technique and just running a play is if you run a play, I can walk forward, but how do I get past my man? Getting past my man is technique. Running forward is the play. So it's we've been able to say, hey, or I've gotten a chance to watch all the film from last year for our high school and really get to call kids and be like, hey, I know what your thought process was on this, but let's work on the technique. Let's work on how you get there. And a lot of, I heard Nick Saban talk about how this is the best year he's ever had coaching his corners because he's had the most time to be able to break down technique. And then if we can get that foundational level up, the scheme is a lot easier at that level because guys are higher IQ, than high school football IQ wise. They can pick up things faster. So that's a little bit of what I've experienced.
No, and that does make a lot of sense because a lot of times football is just go, 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 go. And now everything's been so slow to the point where, like you said, coaches can sit here and break down tape and actually have conversations with kids and get in their heads as to what they're thinking about when they're doing this. And like you said, technique. So that does make a lot of sense. Be interesting to see how that does help.
Don't get me wrong, there's no substitution for on-field reps, but at least the guys can go out there right now, and I think if they're all wearing masks, they can go out and at least walk through their scheme.
Yeah, anything would help.
Anything.
So, all right, well, that's all I got, gentlemen. You good? Any final thoughts? Joe gave a thumbs up. You can't hear a thumbs up, anybody listening, but Joe gave one. So
still don't like Notre Dame, but
I can't stand Notre Dame. It's all good though.
Squirming all year, bro.
I hope they do.
Sorry, go ahead.
They're going to squirm all year. I totally agree. It's not even. I didn't even really like totally put that into perspective, to be honest with you. But they're, it could be fun. It could be fun to watch them kind of struggle for a change, and it's going to feel really good, and it'll be worth it, I think, at the end of the year. But I would like to see just on the other hand too, if this wasn't going to be a permanent thing, to just hang them out to dry too by themselves for being so independent for 132 years, and as soon as they need to lean on someone, all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll join. How independent is that, though? At the end of the day, when you really think about it,
I was cool with either.
I know you were. I
just hope that Ian Book doesn't come out and win the Heisman.
There's no way. There's no way. That dude looks like a Peaky Blinder. He's not going to win the Heisman. Don't you everybody knows a Notre Dame fan? Like, don't you feel just like bad for that person? You're just like, dude, that kind of sucks. Like, there's no character behind being a Notre Dame fan, because like I don't think anybody really like has that big of a connection. Like, even if you go there, I feel like everybody that lives out here that went to Notre Dame just winds up becoming a USC fan at the end of the day. It's nobody really cares that much.
I was really close to just having my brother-in-law come on here and talk about Notre Dame with us, but
I'll act like a Notre Dame fan real quick. What do you want for us, man? Like, what do you want from us? Like, we do everything we can. Like, we got Brian Kelly. He's pretty good. Like that's how it's like, Manti Te'o, dude. Or like it's always somebody that they bring up.
We win the games in front of us.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that you choose every single year.
Exactly. And they'll be like, "Well, dude, we play Stanford and we play USC." It's like those teams they've been down for.
Army and Navy are good.
Right.
When they play each other. Sometimes.
No, they actually have been better in recent.
They've been better.
At the same time, they're not like world beaters.
Well, Notre Dame, I think their claim to fame is actually making like Navy a very relevant program. Like, they raised Navy's level up, and then they like beat them, and then they were like, all right, that's enough of that. No more independence for you. You're going into the American. So,
all right. Well, that's all I got. And we could go all night, and they would. We would. Thanks, everybody, for tuning back in after 3 weeks off. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Tyler, for coming on. Obviously, we love you, brother. Glad to see you back home. I know you're happy. I didn't realize you weren't with Katie, but,
she says hello to you guys, by the way.
Yeah,
to all the
Katie.
listeners, shout out to you. Wouldn't be a show without you.
Exactly, something like that. All 10 of them. Thanks, Simply Safe. Thanks, Bet Online. Thanks, all of you. Again, for Joe and Tyler, I'm Sean. We're out.
Thanks for listening to the Cuse Militia Podcast, the fan's voice with Sean and Joe.